this is a very generous credit. It's a good thing, but it needs to be used within the parameters that were stipulated by the legislatures, and then again, some guidance provided by the IRS. If you can't document how you fit within those parameters, then maybe take a step back and rethink your strategy and whether you should participate. It's really just, as we've talked about, common sense. If it sounds too good to be true, it likely is. Maybe take a step back, maybe question if you're using a provider, what their premise is based on.
Do research, ask good questions, be thoughtful about. I think by now what's great and what we see from our clients is that there's no shortage of data points. So our clients, or our new clients that come to us, say, look, I have a friend who has the same business in the same city or the next city over, and they received a substantial credit. And I thought when they claimed that credit that was absurd, but they claimed it and they just got a check for a lot of money. And so I'd like to know if I'm also eligible for that, for that refund.
If
check.
you are employing individuals, you've paid or remitted payroll tax to the IRS, maybe annually. If you're really small, you don't do it quarterly, then you are eligible to receive a refund of those taxes paid. In addition to that refund, you can go above and beyond. If your ERC claim exceeds your payroll taxes paid, because it is refundable, then you can receive the excess as well. But you do have to have that base of taxes paid. PPP was one and done, right, Adam? We saw that. They had a couple iterations of it, but once you missed the deadline, you were done. ERC is retroactive. You can technically amend your 941 as many times as you need to. Our experience has been that's going to raise a lot of red flags. So as long as you're comfortable that you're doing what's right, but the probability of audit goes up significantly as you continue to amend and claim more. But we've seen that. We've done that for employers where they claimed something, but they underclaimed it. We were able to help them find additional value. So we filed a new 941X, amending it yet again. So you can continue to do that. Just know that it is going to slow down the claims. It does take a bit longer to process that. And it likely will result in the IRS asking a few questions, understandably. I suppose the source of how you make your payroll doesn't matter. It's really focused on the taxable wages, 3121 taxable wages, usually W-2 wages, and remitted on a 941. And so whether it was paid from personal funds or paid through a loan or paid through business bank account, it really doesn't matter. You're really going to focus on the 941 refund process of taxes remitted. Remember, it's a refund of taxes paid, not necessarily wages paid. But also, to clarify that, because we get this a lot, if you incurred additional expenses as a business because of COVID, that's not included in the ERC. The ERC isn't meant to reimburse you for expenses. It's really meant to be a refundable payroll tax credit. Definition of gross receipts is a tax definition. So the safe answer is generally going to be stick to how you define gross receipts when you're filing your taxes, when you're determining your income taxes and other taxes. Recognizing that you may have cash versus accrual, depending on whether it's for your books versus tax, there'll be a book tax difference. But with the IRS definition, it should be using the tax definition, which is usually follow your tax method. I think what I am seeing as far as headline risk are, again, an oversimplification of the credit requirements and a severe misunderstanding of the documentation required to support the credit. We've even heard horror stories, for example, of clients contracting with a provider who was able to provide a credit calc within days and never spoke to them. Never talked to them about their business, never asked for data, just said, hey, we're done. You got a credit now. We've even heard of them saying, hey, I didn't give them payroll and somehow I got a credit. And so obviously those are red flags, but if you're a business owner, you may not understand why that's a red flag. You may not understand the nuances. So I continue to see that, and hopefully some of the media coverage will slow that down, but certainly still a risk. So generally the statute of limitations for amending is controlled by the instructions to Form 941. You generally have 3 years from the last date, which is usually construed per the instructions to be April 15th following the quarter in which you minutes. And as far as the IRS audits, the IRS has a little bit more time from the date you file, usually 2 years from the date that you file the amendments. You can't wait to the last day of that period of limitations and file and think, hey, you beat the system. Now the IRS doesn't have any time. And the IRS has some flexibility depending on if they thought there was fraud there, that they can extend that. And then I think what's interesting is we're also seeing in some of the recent proposed legislations, for example, in President Biden's budget discussions, there was a proposed bill. It didn't pass. This version didn't pass, but there was a proposed bill to extend the period of limitations to 5 years for all quarters. Right now, it's Q3 of 21 is extended for 5 years, but to extend all of it to give the IRS more time. So that, and that was the budget purpose of that was to increase the budget by giving the IRS an opportunity to pull back more funds that were used incorrectly there.
And I think it's asking good questions and using common sense, right? If you see a billboard on the side of the road that says laser eye surgery for $199 per eye, well, maybe, right? But maybe you want to ask some questions and say, well, what does that include? What kind of laser eye surgery am I getting for $199? Or maybe it's not $199. Maybe it's $1,000, but that's the lead in. So there's just the questions to ask that your gut as a business owner is going to lead you down the right path, and feel free to ask the questions. And if you don't get an answer that you're comfortable with, then maybe move on.